Hey everybody, it's Judy Clock coming to you today for a little lesson at lunch. And this past weekend, we held our International Creative Retreat. I held it with demonstrators from Canada and Australia. And we had a lot of fun, and the feedback so far has been really good. But on Friday night, we had a Zoom session as kind of an early bird bonus where we all got together and we had a couple of challenges for the participants. And one challenge was to do a one-layer card. All we could have was the card base and one additional layer, which is really hard to do when you're a card maker. You think, oh my gosh, I want to, add ribbons and layers and die cuts, but we couldn't use anything other than stamps, inks, and paper, and like an embellishment. So let me show you what I did for that one. Then we're going to do one similar one today. So for this one, I just took the Holy Guacamole, the Taco Fiesta set, and I just made a little one-layer card, and I just put my little centerpiece on a wobble. So that was my embellishment, was to make this centerpiece kind of move and have a little bit of movement. But that was my one-layer card. We could add color. So that was what I did for the challenge. And we had some really great entries for cards that people made. So today I was like, well, let me see if I could get back to basics and do another one-layer card. So I just used a layer of basic white. I used a piece of designer series paper and just one color of ink. Okay, so then I added a couple of rhinestones and some Wink of Stella just to kind of make my flowers sparkle a little bit. But that was all I did. And I did a little bit of stamping off because I wanted the flowers to be a little bit lighter in color than the sentiment. So that was all that I did for this challenge. So let me show you how we do this. And this is a great card for maybe a beginner stamper who doesn't have a lot of supplies yet. Really, we use just a piece of thick basic white. Whenever you're using white as your card base, you should always use the thick basic white. And can you tell that I was working with Starry Sky tonight? And of course, it got all over my hands. But we're going to use a little bit of Evening Evergreen, which is one of our retiring colors that will be gone at the end of April this year. It was one of our 2021, 2023 in colors. So we'll be saying goodbye to Evening Evergreen. But let's go ahead and let's make this card. So I have a piece of our thick basic white. It is 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4 1/4, and I'm going to do this card in landscape mode. So it's going to open in the landscape position. I have a piece of I think it's Fancy Flora DSP. This is from the mini catalog. And this is just a little 4 1/4 by 2 3/4 piece of designer series paper. So you don't need a very big piece of paper because we're only going to put it on half. And the other half is going to be our image and our sentiment. Now for this one, excuse me, I am going to use our Stamparatus just because I want to do that stamping off, and this just helps. So I'm going to position this, and I already know where I have to position it because I already have my stamp on there. So I'm going to position it at the 2-inch mark here and at the 1-inch mark on the vertical. All right. So now I'm going to put my magnets on. Now remember, when you're working with the Stamparatus, do not let your magnets touch. Let's just check the position. Okay, that's fine. That is where I want it. So now I'm going to ink up. Take this off for now. I'm going to ink up my stamp. Okay, I'm going to get it kind of nice and inky because I'm going to stamp off because I want my flower to be a lighter color. So if you've only got a few stamp pads and you want to make it look like you have more colors, stamping off is a great technique. So I'm going to stamp this on my piece of scrap paper. You'll notice I put a piece of scrap paper there. I'm just going to kind of press down. All right, so now I've got a lot of ink kind of on my scrap paper. So now I'm going to put this down. I am going to put this on my paper. And I had my little, here it is. My teammate made this for me out of, the air hockey table. I guess, I don't know what you call them. It's not the puck, but it's the thing that you hit the puck with. I don't know what they're called. But she made this. She put a little bit of felt on the bottom, decorated it with some designer series paper. And it's for making sure that you can get even pressure on your Stamparatus. Okay, so now we've got our floral image. Now I'm going to add my other plate. I'm going to ink up my thank you. And this was just a wee tad crooked. Let me see if I can just kind of straighten that out. I think the stamp is just actually cut crooked, honestly. Sometimes that happens. Okay, so I'm just going to ink up my stamp. I'm going to get this nice and inky. All right, and I am going to, now I'm using this full strength. I'm not taking off any ink. Okay, oh, see, that's really crooked. That's all right. It'll be fine. All right, so now we've got thank you for inspiring me. And you see how much that looks like a much deeper green. And all we did was use that full strength. And for the flower, we just kind of stamped it off. But because these are distinctive stamps, which means they've got a lot of extra, just kind of like a little extra detail in it. You can really see like some of the veining on the flower petals and stuff. So I really like that. All right, let me move my Stamparatus. Take off my plates because I gotta clean everything after. All right, now all we're going to do is we're going to add our piece of DSP. You can add that any way you want. I'm going to use some liquid glue just because I want to give myself a little bit of extra time putting this on. So I'm going to pull back my silicone mat. Whenever I use liquid glue, I want to pull back my silicone mat to make sure that I don't get it on my work surface on my table. So silicone mats are really good. This is a big one. My sister had given me this one year for my birthday. This really big one. I have the little like 5x5 or 6x6 square from Stampin' Up, but she gave me this bigger one, and I kind of like it for, you know, bigger projects. It's perfect. Keeps my desk area nice and clean. Okay. Now I'm going to use a little bit of Wink of Stella. If I can find it where I put it. There it is. Now remember, whenever you've got your Wink of Stella and you're like, want to make sure that it's going to come out, don't do it over your card. Do it over a piece of scrap paper first, because sometimes it comes out in a big, see, like coming out in a big blop now. We don't want to get a big blop on our card. So I'm just going to add a little bit of Wink of Stella to our flower petals. Okay. Just going to give it that little bit of shimmer and shine right there. Okay, that's all I'm going to put it on. It's just on these. Again, I'm going to kind of blop it off on my scrap paper. Again, I don't want to get a big unsightly splotch on my stamped image. We're just going to go here and add just a little bit. Okay, and that's all we're going to do. We're just going to add that little tiny bit of Wink of Stella. So if you've got a Wink of Stella, it's great to add just a little bit of sparkle and shine. And we're going to add some rhinestones. I'm going to put on about 5. I always like to do an uneven amount simply because everything in nature is really kind of off. It's never the same. It's never an equal number. And it's more pleasing to the eye to kind of have those odd numbers. Put one there and maybe one more little one. Oh, I don't know, over here. And that is our really simple one layer card today. So I hope you'll take the 1 layer challenge, and please don't mind my blue fingers. I hope you'll take the 1 layer challenge and try to make a card really just using stamps, inks, and paper and just a little embellishment. You don't need all the fancy stuff to make really pretty cards that will really please people when they receive them. I think handwriting and writing in general is really becoming a lost art in this day and age of, you know, ever increasing technology and social media. I really think it's very thoughtful sometimes to get that handwritten note so that someone actually, you know, sat down and took the time to really think about you and to really write, you know, a lovely note. And it's so much fun to get a handwritten card in the mail. So anyway, go ahead, take the 1 layer challenge. Let me know what you think of it. And hopefully I will see all your creations online. Everybody have a great night. Remember, today is the last day for celebration and the last day to join Stampin' Up! With that great joint offer where you can get an extra $50 in product in your starter kit. And then you can either select it with the to get the mini stamp cut and emboss machine in either basic white or the new boho blue, or you can just get the standard starter kit. But that offer ends today when celebration ends. So if you haven't grabbed your free items, go ahead, place those $50 orders and grab your free items. All right, I will see you all next week for another lesson at lunch. Have a good day, everybody.